There are only three things I am almost sure about God, and God existing isn't one of them. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. So oddly enough, whether or not God exists is one of the things that I struggle with a lot over and over again. I'm sort of in and out of not being sure about that throughout my life, like my whole life. And so that's one of the things that I actually just have to hold with an open hand and say, you know what, that one, not really sure about. However, if you are going to be open to that, there are three things I'm pretty sure about. The first one is that God is loving. And this may seem weird. The stream of religion that I am a practitioner of is Christianity, and and it might sound weird because when you look at the Bible, like on the face of it, sometimes God it seems to be not very loving at all. Like just all kinds of smiting and stuff that you look at, you're like, what on earth? Until you remember that those passages were written in a very different world that was much more violent and much more comfortable with all kinds of different things. And so if you look at what they say about God, like the people who are writing those stories, like what are they trying to communicate about God? And when you dig into it, through all of the violence and all of the horrible things they describe, what the writers are actually trying to describe is that God is loving, and loving in a way of like a parent loving their children. And so just like parents will punish their children, God punishes people according to these writers in the Bible. And what they're trying to communicate in their very strange and backward and often stilted and ineffective ways, they're trying to say that God is loving. The second thing that I'm pretty sure about is that God is gracious. God offers grace to people, and that is that the state of humans is a state of constantly making mistakes, constantly screwing things up in very small and very horrible, catastrophic ways. And you look at that in the scriptures, the sort of sacred text that I ascribe to, which is the Bible. You see it over and over again. Definitely people screwing up over and over again in very little and very big ways. And then over and over again, God giving like second and third and fourth and fifth and like infinite chances. Like God, yes, there are consequences, but God keeps coming back to the people that are trying to engage with God. And God is saying, okay, now that you've had this punishment, now that you've experienced the consequences, here's another chance. Let's do this again. But the last one is the one that I'm most sure about, right? This is the one that if this isn't true, the whole thing is off for me. And that is that God is in this progression of being more and more inclusive of more and more people. And I'm not really sure if that's the right way to phrase it, or if the right way to phrase it is we are becoming more and more aware that God includes everybody. So let me explain just like in basic terms what I'm talking about from the ancient spiritual text that I ascribe to, the Bible, right? You have God in this great relationship with Adam and Eve. That relationship is broken. There are consequences to that. And then you see God sort of building back a relationship with humanity in an interesting way, right? It goes more and it gets like larger and larger. There's lots of covenants and all kinds of things, but it goes like there's like a like one person, and then there's like a family, and then there's like all the descendants of that family that have gone on for ages, and then that family becomes a people, and then that people becomes a nation. And then for Christians, when Jesus comes, there's this moment where Jesus Jesus dies and is resurrected, and they think it's still God just interfacing with the Jewish people, and all of a sudden it's the Gentiles too, and the non-Jewish people, and it's including absolutely everyone, which is a surprise to all of these people who've been trying to keep people out. Like I say in all of my videos, I am a deep skeptic, and that means that like when I get a new piece of data, I'm always considering it and reevaluating my beliefs. But also, when you're a skeptic, there are things that you are more sure of, things that almost are like, get close to like gravity, right? I drop this cup of coffee and it's gonna fall. Like there's stuff that it's gonna take a lot to disprove it. These are those three things for me, and these are the things that like I evaluate all the other things on, right? So if you start trying to tell me something about God that is not loving, we're not going there. If what you're saying about God is making God out to be hateful and evil and not giving multiple chances, sorry, we're not going. And if you're describing a God that is excluding people, or a movement of a God that is excluding people, again, not going there. And these are just mine. I'd love to hear what yours are, if you've got them. Or if you want to borrow mine for a minute, try them out. Let me know how it works for you.